Jiang Yinyan remained silent. That person, lacking tact, continued chattering. Miss you, marrying into that family wouldn't be worth it for you. Young Master Yin is of an older generation, so you'd have to call him Uncle Yin along with young Master Jiangze, wouldn't you? Others chimed in, indeed. Yun Yin pressed her lips together, faintly suppressing the anger swirling in her heart. Just as she was about to tell everyone about her broken engagement with the Jiang family, she heard Jiang Yinyan speak. His voice was faint. The Yu family has already broken off the engagement with the Jiang family. Miss Yu has no connection whatsoever to my nephew, Jiangze. The people around them were all stunned. Yun Yin hadn't expected Jiang Yinyan to clarify the facts so directly and decisively, and she, too, was momentarily stunned. Regarding the broken engagement, her word alone wouldn't be believed or acknowledged by outsiders. At most, it would be treated as gossip. Just like when she previously publicly declared no relation to Jiangze, the outside world merely treated it as post-dinner chatter. Because the Jiang family hadn't stated their position, and because the Jiang family had more authority to speak than the current Yu family. So, Jiang Yin's statement today was akin to a member of the Jiang family officially clarifying the matter. Although not yet formally announced to the public, it was an acknowledgement that the broken engagement was a fact. Someone nearby said, "Oh, what a pity. The Yu family and the Jiang family are considered old family friends, aren't they? If they could marry, it would make a wonderful story." Yun Yin softly said from the side, "Marriage is also about destiny. If there's no fate, there's no need to force it." Jiang Yinyan looked at Yun Yin's face, his expression meaningful. Miss Yu is right, but sometimes fate can't entirely be left to heaven's will. Take Mr. C, for example. Isn't he intentionally trying to create fate? The smile on Yun Yin's lips stiffened slightly. Si Tingyuan maintained a smile and simply changed the subject. "Young Master Yin, are you leaving after your gathering? We won't keep you any longer." It was a hint to end the small talk. Jiang Yinyan's expression was calm. He lifted his wrist to check the time, then said, faintly, "It's getting late. Miss you, do you plan to leave? I can give you a ride." Yun Yin's breath hitched. "That's too blatant." Just as she was about to speak, Si Tingyuan said with a smile, "Since young Master Yin also mentioned that Miss Yu's engagement with the Jiang family has been called off, then Miss Yu's affairs are no longer a concern for young Master Yin. I will personally take Miss Yu home shortly." Yun Yin truly had a headache. Neither explaining nor not explaining it was appropriate in this situation. Jiang Yinyan's gaze was cool and detached, resting on Si Tingyuan's face without warmth. He looked at Yun Yin once more, then said after a moment, "Farewell." With that, he turned and left. The group of people bid farewell to Si Tingyuan and Yun Yin, then followed Jiang Yinyan out. One of Yun Yin's hands had remained on the table, seemingly resting, but in reality, she was using it to support her shaky body. Once Jiang Yinyan's figure had completely disappeared, she felt as if all strength had drained from her, and she collapsed back in her chair. She almost lost her composure, but thankfully managed to steady herself. But Si Tingyuan's eyes were sharp. Even though Yun Yin hit it well, he sensed something amiss. In fact, he had noticed something at the last banquet. How to put it? There was no hard evidence. It was purely a man's intuition. Si Tingyuan could tell that Jiang Yinyan's gaze towards Yun Yin was unusual. No matter how composed Jiang Yinyan appeared, Si Tingyuan could feel something was off about him. Vehicles were arriving at the club entrance. 7 or 8 luxury cars lined up in a row. Someone, emboldened by their close relationship with Jiang Yinyan, spoke much more daringly. "It's such a pity if Miss Yu's beauty benefits someone else. Why was the perfectly good marriage alliance cancelled? I say, young Master Yin, why not let Miss Yu be with you? Keep the good fortune within the family." "What nonsense are you talking about? How could that work?" "Young Master Yin is young Master Zhe's uncle, which also makes him Miss Yu's uncle. Wouldn't that be a mess if they were together?" "Why not? She hasn't married into the Jiang family yet. Such relationships shouldn't be messed with. Young Master Yin would become a laughing stock." "But have you said enough?" A cold frost subtly touched Jiang Yinyan's brows. Everyone immediately dared not speak further. Back at the club, Yun Yin had lost all interest in talking. Jiang Yinyan had left the venue half an hour ago, yet her heart remained deeply unsettled. She didn't know what Jiang Yinyan would do to her. Si Tingyuan's words just now would surely make him overthink things. "Miss, you might want to seriously consider my proposal." Si Tingyuan seemed to notice her restlessness. "The atmosphere of the Beijing Circle isn't suitable for you. By being with me, you would essentially return to the Shanghai Circle, and no one would dare trouble you." Yun Yin looked up at Si Tingyuan. Although his face was calm, there was a brilliant glint in his eyes. He was confident and powerful, belonging to a different circle than Jiang Yinyan, yet it was a circle she was familiar with. For a moment, she desperately wanted to nod. Regardless of Si Tingyuan's true intentions, he could at least help her escape Jiang Yinyan. This single point was enough to become the most advantageous condition to tempt her. Si Tingyuan was still waiting for her answer, his gaze burning as he looked at her. Her phone vibrated. Yunyan flinched. She murmured an apology, then took out her phone and glanced at it. Her expression subtly changed. It was a message from Jiang Yunyan, every word imbued with dominance. Yunyan, Si Tingyuan can't help you. Don't delude yourself. I'm in the underground garage. Come here. Yunyan's fingers, clutching her phone, trembled slightly. The hope that had finally ignited in her heart was slowly being dispelled. Dispelled by the darkness. She even felt the small light before her eyes disappearing, and she was once again lost in a fog, unable to see the end. Si Tingyuan noticed her odd behavior and asked what was wrong. Her phone vibrated in her hand again. It was Jiang Yunyan again. I warn you, don't test my patience. Yunyan put her phone away, then looked up at Si Tingyuan. Mr. Si, I'm really sorry, but let's end it here today. In the future, any decisions on your end can be directly communicated to Wanzhou. What happened? It was clear Si Tingyuan didn't want to end it so early. Yunyan pondered briefly. There's something I need to take care of. My apologies, Wanzhou, and I will treat you to a meal another day to make amends. She picked up her bag and stood. Since you have something to attend to, I'll see you off. Si Tingyuan also stood up. Yunyan quickly said there was no need, then bid farewell to Si Tingyuan and hurried away. Si Tingyuan watched her retreating figure thoughtfully. The club's underground parking garage wasn't particularly large. After all, only members came here, and the parking spaces were filled with luxury cars. As Yunyan stepped down, a car horn sounded not far away. The familiar black car was parked in a spot by the wall. Yunyan nervously swallowed. In that very car, not long ago, he had forced an intimate encounter upon her. Even now, seeing that car again made Yunyan's legs weak and her back feel cold. She was just a few meters from the car, yet in her eyes, it felt like traversing thousands of mountains and rivers. Every step was agonizing. The car was parked sideways, standing quietly, much like the man inside, silently watching her through the car window, waiting for her to step by step enter his world, into the inescapable trap he had set for her. Yunyan steeled herself. Just as she was about to walk forward, her wrist was suddenly grabbed from behind. Her heart leaped in alarm, and when she turned around, she was even more stunned. It was Si Tingyuan. She didn't know when he had followed her down, but he held her wrist with a grip that felt both strong and dominating. Mr. Si. Instantly, she grew uneasy. Jiang Yunyan was in the car opposite. Si Tingyuan subtly glanced at the car opposite, then his gaze returned to Yunyan's face, smiling faintly. It's so late. I'm not comfortable letting you go alone. Where are you going? I'll take you. No need, Mr. Si. It was my driver who brought you here. If I don't see you back and something happens to you, how would I explain to Wanzhou? After all, our two families are discussing cooperation. I don't want anything to happen to my business partner. These words amounted to a promise. How could Yunyan not understand the implication? Normally, a great weight would have been lifted from her heart. But now, how could she possibly focus on this matter? Emer ezi, yuyist. How can anything happen to me? Really? The car opposite honked again. This time, along with the horn, the back passenger window slowly lowered, revealing Jiang Yunyan's profile. His nose bridge was straight, his thin lips slightly pressed, his jawline sharp and cold. He turned his head to look at Yunyan, his gaze even more indifferent than it had been in the club, completely disregarding Si Tingyuan as he coldly commanded, "Get in the car." Yunyan found it hard to breathe, and her scalp tightened in waves. Jiang Yunyan was adopting an open and blatant posture, or rather, he had no intention of pretending in front of Si Tingyuan at all, tearing away his public facade to reveal his true self. In this way, he was telling Si Tingyuan that he had a claim on her. Yunyan felt humiliated, her heart a mix of shame and anger. She desperately wanted to turn and leave, to hell with Si Tingyuan and Jiang Yunyan. The urge was so strong, so intense that she wished she could do it immediately. But what then? Would Jiang Yunyan let her off? Would Si Tingyuan not speculate about her relationship with Jiang Yunyan? After a moment, Yunyan whispered, "Mr. Si, please let go." Si Tingyuan showed no inclination for confrontation, merely asking her faintly, "Are you afraid of him?" Yunyan didn't answer the question, only saying, "Mr. Si, what you're doing puts me in a very difficult position, so please let go." Difficult? Si Tingyuan's voice was soft. "It's all right, come with me." With that, he pulled her towards his car. Yunyan was startled, urgently whispering, "What are you doing?" "Don't be nervous," Si Tingyuan said dismissively. On the surface, nothing seemed amiss, but beneath it, strong undercurrents churned. Yunyan felt a nerve constantly stretched taut in her heart. She didn't know when it would snap, but she knew the breaking point might not be far off. Jiang Yunyan sat in the car, showing no intention of getting out. Without others present, he made no effort to conceal his impoliteness towards Si Tingyuan. Given the Jiang family's power, Jiang Yinyin was indeed above Si Tingyuan. But this didn't mean Si Tingyuan would yield to him. The Si family's territory was in Shanghai, which to some extent allowed them to suppress the Jiang family. Young Master Yin, Si Tingyuan preempted. Since Miss Yu's engagement with the Jiang family has been dissolved, there's no need for young Master Yin to trouble himself. I will escort Miss Yu home. Even without looking at Jiang Yinyin, Yun Yin could feel the icy coldness of his gaze, her heart pounding with fright. She wanted to say something, but didn't know what. Jiang Yinyin's gaze indifferently swept past Si Tingyuan's face and landed on Yun Yin's, ignoring Si Tingyuan's words. He spoke faintly, "Yun Yin, get in the car." His tone was incredibly low, stifling, like a suffocating pressure. Yun Yin didn't want to offend Jiang Yinyin. The fact that he could disregard Si Tingyuan's words showed he felt utterly emboldened. Yun Yin gently withdrew her hand. "Mr. Siyu, doesn't young Master Yin intend to be a gentleman and help someone out?" Si Tingyuan said abruptly, showing no intention of backing down. This time, Jiang Yinyin's gaze landed on Si Tingyuan's face, cold as hoarfrost. Yun Yin flinched internally, instinctively looking at Si Tingyuan. Si Tingyuan smiled faintly. "A fair maiden is a good match for a gentleman. I am fond of Miss Yu, and now that I know her engagement is off, I intend to pursue her. Given young Master Yan's current situation and status, I believe you shouldn't interfere with this matter. So, why not be a gentleman and allow it?" Yun Yin's breath caught in her throat, her head spinning. She wasn't sure if Si Tingyuan was deliberately acting this way because he disliked Jiang Yinyin's behavior or if he genuinely intended to pursue her. Either way, it would be a disaster for her. Unless Jiang Yinyin voluntarily gave up, or Si Tingyuan truly intended to contend with Jiang Yinyin. Contend with Jiang Yinyin's power for her sake? Yun Yin felt she wasn't confident enough to believe Si Tingyuan would risk the entire Si family for her. After all, she didn't believe he loved her that deeply. If that was the case, why cause trouble for him? "Mr. Si, thank you for your kindness, but I cannot go with you," Yun Yin said softly. Si Tingyuan looked stunned, gazing at her. He leaned in slightly and whispered in her ear, "I'm helping you. Mr. Si, you can't help me." Relying on others' strength was ultimately not viable. Yun Yin understood this, and Jiang Yinyin understood it even better, which was why he was so reckless. Si Tingyuan watched her, unblinking. "How do you know I can't help you if you don't try? Perhaps you could trust me just this once." Yun Yin forced a slight smile. "Mr. Si, please let me handle this myself." After saying this, she gave him a slight nod as a farewell and got into Jiang Yinyin's car. She was grateful for Si Tingyuan's helping hand, but she could only be grateful. She couldn't use him to achieve some goal. That would be very unfair to Si Tingyuan. If Si Tingyuan had feelings for her, she certainly couldn't use him for anything. She wouldn't be able to repay that favor. Once she was in the car, Jiang Yinyin looked up at Si Tingyuan and said politely yet distantly, "Mr. Si, goodbye." The window rolled up, and the temperature in the car instantly dropped. Yun Yin felt the coldness seep into everything. Xiao Min and Yu Wanzhou ran into each other. They were at the same restaurant, on the same floor, in adjacent private rooms. Normally, neither would see the other, but when Xiao Min stepped out to make a call, the door to the neighboring room was half open. Inside, it was noisy, and someone was saying, "Boss Yu, your drinking capacity just won't do. This clearly shows a lack of sincerity in cooperating with us." Then she heard someone mumble, No, Mr. Fong, you have to let me recover for a bit." Today, Xiao Min was having dinner with someone from a talent agency. A popular young celebrity wanted to be on a magazine cover and do 2 special features. Her agent had asked Xiao Min out several times, and today they finally met, having specifically booked a table at one of the top creative cuisine restaurants in Beishur. Xiao Min generally preferred not to have dinner meetings. She'd rather discuss such matters over coffee. But this involved many details, so it was better suited for conversation over a meal. During the dinner, the young celebrity was very adept at handling herself, calling Xiao Min Sister Xiao Min and proactively raising her glass for toasts. Although she was a young celebrity, Xiao Min thought highly of her, and her upcoming projects were collaborations with top-tier teams. As long as she didn't self-destruct, her career could advance further. During the meal, the young celebrity's agent mentioned GZ's agent, saying they were still running around trying to deal with GZ's situation, clearly still wanting to take a gamble with GZ. Xiao Min made veiled allusions, asking about GZ's current situation. Throughout the process, the young celebrity remained silent, but her agent was quite voluble, appearing very resourceful. Not working for a year or 2 won't starve you. After all, a dying camel is still bigger than a horse. But in the entertainment industry, new faces appear every day. Who would dare to go a year or 2 without working? It's not like she's won a Lifetime Achievement Award. If she doesn't put out more work while she's young, she'll easily be forgotten. What she said was true, but the agent was also shrewd and capable. Knowing that she had finally managed to secure a meeting with Xiao Min, there was no need to waste time on gossip, so she refocused the conversation on her own artist. Xiao Min came out to take a call, also wanting to catch her breath. She personally disliked interacting with people from the entertainment industry, but her job required frequent dealings with them, so she had to be willing, however reluctant. It was then that she saw Yuan Zhou. Through the half-open door, Yuan Zhou was seen slumped drunkenly in a chair. There were many people in the private room, and one person stood up, holding a glass, insistent on drinking with Yuan Zhou. It seemed the other party had also had quite a bit, speaking incoherently from intoxication. Many at the table egged them on. Xiao Min saw the situation and sighed heavily. Since Yuan Zhou took over the struggling Yu family business, his social engagements had visibly increased. Of course, no one in business avoids such gatherings, especially in the North China region, where drinking culture is highly valued. Yu Yuan also had many such engagements when he was young, but after becoming the richest man in Jiangnan, he gained more choice and control, so more of his engagements were moved to tea rooms. Of course, this also related to cultural differences between North and South. Xiao Min decided not to get fresh air after all. She turned back, but walked directly to Yu Zhuanzhou's private room. She stood outside for a moment, roughly identified the people inside through the half-open door, and then pushed the door open. "Mr. Fong? It really is you. I thought the voice outside sounded familiar. What a coincidence, isn't it?" Mr. Fong, who was trying to persuade Yuan Zhou to drink, looked up and chuckled. "Oh, isn't this the beautiful editor-in-chief? What brings you here today?" He then introduced her to everyone else at the table, slurring his words. Many at the table recognized Xiao Min to some extent, or had at least heard her name, and greeted her one by one. Yuan Zhou hadn't expected to run into Xiao Min here. He looked up at her, a hint of surprise in his eyes. Xiao Min glanced at him, then looked at Mr. Fong. "I'm having a party with friends in a room next door. First, I heard your voice, Mr. Fong, and when I came in to look, it turns out you're drinking with my younger brother." After saying this, she reached out and patted Yu Zhuanzhou's shoulder, giving him a subtle signal. Mr. Fong was surprised. "Boss Yu is editor-in-chief Qiao's younger brother? Relatives?" "He's the younger brother of a good friend, practically like my own brother," Xiao Min said directly. "Mr. Fong, are you trying to drink with my brother? What's your drinking capacity, and what's his? If he tries to match you, he'll definitely be at a disadvantage." Mr. Fong laughed heartily. "Editor-in-chief Qiao, are you protecting Boss Yu? I think you're feeling sorry for him, aren't you?" "Editor-in-chief Qiao, Boss Yu, confess honestly, are you two dating?" Before Yuan Zhou could speak, Xiao Min took the initiative. "Mr. Fong, this is my pure, unadulterated younger brother. If you say the wrong thing, you'll have to drink a penalty," she said, then poured the drink. 10 minutes later, Xiao Min was pulled out of the private room by Yuan Zhou. By the sink, Xiao Min splashed cool water on her face. Yuan Zhou stood behind her, handing her a clean towel. Xiao Min took it and wiped her face, not caring about her makeup, visibly having had quite a bit to drink. As she threw the towel, her steps faltered. Yuan Zhou reached out to steady her, but couldn't quite catch her, and both stumbled simultaneously. Xiao Min's back hit the wall. Yuan Zhou, with quick reflexes, put his hand behind her head, preventing her from hitting the wall with the back of her head. As a result, they were quite close, and when Yuan Zhou looked down, he saw her flushed face. He was torn between laughter and tears. "Xiao Min, what kind of hero are you trying to be? Did I ask you to come in and drink on my behalf?" She had been incredibly fierce in her drinking, though Mr. Fong had eventually succumbed. Still, she had downed several glasses in quick succession, and if he hadn't pulled her out in time, who knows what state she'd be in. Xiao Min looked up at his handsome face, so close to hers, and chuckled. "You were in such a state. If I hadn't come in, you'd be finished. Ungrateful man. Aren't you going to thank me?" "Thank you. Really," Yuan Zhou said with a helpless expression. "But next time, please don't just barge in without knowing the situation. The contract's already signed. Why would I compete with him in drinking? Am I out of my mind?" He just didn't want to drink with Mr. Fong anymore. That Mr. Fong was just like Manager Huang, going crazy when he saw alcohol. Yuan Zhou had personally overseen this deal with Mr. Fong, and today was meant to be a celebration. Just as Yuan Zhou had said, the contract was already signed, so he didn't need to go all out at the table. He could pretend to be drunk. Who would have thought Xiao Min would come to his beauty saves the hero rescue? Xiao Min rested her forehead on his chest, mumbling, "What water in my head? It's all alcohol." Hearing this, Yuan Zhou knew. She was completely drunk. Jiang Yinyan unexpectedly didn't make things difficult for Yinyan. He actually ordered the driver to head straight for her residential complex. Along the way, Jiang Yinyan didn't speak, leaning back in his seat with his eyes closed, resting. A faint scent of alcohol lingered on his suit jacket. Yinyan didn't know how much he had drunk with those people, thinking it best not to provoke him since they were on his turf. So, she also remained silent. It had been a day of trivial matters. She leaned back in her seat, quietly watching the scenery outside the car window. Large swaths of neon lights flashed past her eyes, and dazzling light spots splattered across the glass. Though the man beside her exuded pressure, he also seemed quite tired, and after a while, she wasn't as nervous. Her eyes were illuminated by the city lights, and she gradually fell into thought. She thought about Si Tingyuan's words today. From his tone, he still had the intention to cooperate with the Yu family. Today's meeting had been abruptly interrupted by Jiang Yinyan. If Jiang Yinyan hadn't appeared today, the project cooperation details might have been discussed more clearly. But Yunyan wasn't in a hurry. With the Yu family's stance clearly stated, and her words made equally clear, Jiang Cheng and his associates would absolutely not give up. Therefore, the Si family should now be at their wits' end. After all, the Si family couldn't afford to wait on the path to opening up relations with overseas royalty. As the saying goes, a big ship is hard to turn. Though the Si family currently had considerable power and interests, the more they had, the less they dared to risk time. Moreover, with Si Tingy's plans falling through, the Si family had even less time. As soon as the contract with the Si family was signed, the Yu family could shift its industrial focus back to Jiangnan, because the Si family was part of the Shanghai Circle and would be the Yu family's largest partner. You didn't accept Si Tingyuan's help? Was it because you don't like him? Or because you're afraid he'll get dragged into trouble? Jiang Yinyan finally spoke slowly as they neared the residential complex, startling Yunyan. His tone was faint, much warmer than when he faced Si Tingyuan. But the question was tricky. Yunyan lowered her gaze and answered truthfully, both. Both. Jiang Yinyan suddenly smiled. That means you feel sympathy for him. Even for a regular friend, I'd feel sympathy. Yunyan looked up at him. Jiang Yinyan looked at her, then suddenly reached out and pulled her closer, his thin lips almost touching hers. He whispered word by word, not even ordinary friends. When you're with me, you're not allowed to have male friends. Young Master Yin, are you going to strip me of my right to make friends as well? Yunyan asked, bracing herself. Jiang Yinyan's thumb gently caressed the back of her neck. He chuckled softly. Yunyan, you need to understand one thing. No man just wants to be friends with you. So-called friends, they all start with the premise of eventually wanting to possess you. Yunyan's breath caught in her throat. After a long moment, she asked, we're here. Can I get out now? Jiang Yinyan didn't stop her from getting out, which surprised Yunyan. Based on her understanding of him, even if he genuinely intended to let her go home, he would still make things difficult for her before she got out. In his eyes, she was still an interesting prey, nothing more. However, before her hopeful relief could fully settle, she saw Jiang Yinyan also get out of the car and walk with her towards the building entrance. Yinyan froze, stopping in her tracks. What are you doing? Jiang Yinyan glanced at her, speaking indifferently, escorting you upstairs. No need. Otherwise, come back to the car with me. All right. Yunyan fell silent. And so, she walked ahead, and he followed behind, like a shadow. After Yunyan entered the elevator, he followed her in, conveniently pressed the elevator button for her, then stood diagonally behind her. Yunyan had been confessed to. To be precise, ever since she reached her prime, suitors had been flocking to her. Her textbooks, her backpack, would often contain all sorts of gifts and love letters. The students at her school were all from wealthy and influential families, so the gifts she received were exceptionally expensive. Among her many admirers, one boy was beaten the most severely. He was beaten by Yen. At that age, she started to dislike Yen following her around because it was too inconvenient and restrictive wherever she went. So, she discussed with Yen if he could stop following her constantly at school. The school she attended at the time was relatively safe. Yen, of course, disagreed at first, but Yunyan was unhappy with him, so he had no choice but to compromise. Later, when Yunyan thought back to that period, she also felt that she had been too self-willed, and she paid the price for her willfulness. Although there was no danger to her life, it scared her quite a bit. At that time, they went on a study tour to another city during the summer vacation. Since no one in the group brought bodyguards, Yunyan insisted that Yen not follow her so she could be like everyone else. Unexpectedly, something happened. On the last day of the study tour, she was tricked by a male classmate into a cave and couldn't get out. No one heard her calls for help. That male classmate had confessed to her before and was rejected, and then he stopped bothering her. She thought he had moved on, but he made his move during the study tour. Her ID was taken by the male classmate, and her luggage was disposed of by him, creating the illusion that she had returned home early. After the teachers and classmates had all gone back, the Yu family realized she hadn't returned and knew something was wrong. She was tied up in the cave by the male classmate, who hysterically questioned what was wrong with him that made her look down on him. Then she found out that he had often secretly watched her at school, even stealing her clothes. And then at night, when no one was paying attention, he would hug her clothes to sleep and even fantasize about her clothes. Listening to him talk about those things, Yin felt nauseous. But she didn't dare to provoke him easily, as there was no one else around. If she angered him, there would be no good outcome. She tried her best to appease the male classmate's emotions, encouraging him to talk more about himself, tricking him by saying, "Although we are classmates, I don't know anything about you. Why don't you tell me more, and it won't be too late to agree to be your girlfriend after I thoroughly understand you." The male classmate's eyes lit up upon hearing this, and he asked her, "You mean you can agree to be my girlfriend? Then you need me to get to know you." Although Yin was not very old at the time, she could remain calm in critical moments. She realized that the male classmate was somewhat psychologically unstable and had a twisted personality, so she could only go along with what he said first. However, this situation couldn't last too long. The male classmate already had malicious intentions towards her, and now they were alone, a man and a woman. He couldn't control himself and pounced on her. At that moment, Yin was in despair, thinking it was all over. Then she deeply regretted why she hadn't let Yin follow her. How wonderful it would be if Yin appeared at that moment. Perhaps her will was too strong, or heaven took pity on her. But just as her clothes were torn open, she suddenly felt a lightness on her body. The boy was lifted up by a large hand and violently thrown out. She heard the boy's hysterical screams, got up, and tears streamed down her face. It was Yin. He appeared like a god. Yin thought several times that she was seeing things or having hallucinations, until the boy's continuous screams poured in her ears, and she finally believed that Yin had come. The boy was severely beaten by Yin, even dragged to the edge of a cliff by Yin, who intended to throw him down. Yin did not beat the boy in front of Yin, perhaps to avoid scaring her. But he couldn't stop his wailing. Yin didn't want to be a saint. After all, if Yin had been a step late, she would have been defiled by that beast. So, she felt relieved that he was beaten. However, seeing the murderous intent in Yin's eyes, Yin became scared, especially when she saw Yin dragging the boy to the edge of the cliff. Yin grabbed his arm and shook her head violently. At that moment, she was extremely scared, afraid of the ruthlessness in Yin's eyes, afraid that Yin would really throw him off, afraid that Yin would be arrested by the police. But at that time, what she feared even more was that once Yin killed someone, he would leave her, and she would never see Yin again. She was so scared she cried, tears streaming down her face like a weeping willow. She desperately hugged Yin's arm and cried, Yin, let's go, take me away, let him go, just leave him here to fend for himself. Don't be like this, I'm scared. That year, Yin was just a blossoming young girl, and any calmness was just a facade. She cried terribly, but she also saw a softening in Yin's eyes. The male classmate was so scared that he peed his pants. Before this, his leg had been broken by Yin, and now he was suspended in midair, so scared that he couldn't even cry, tears sliding down his cheeks, crying even more intensely than Yin. In the end, Yin didn't throw him off. After pulling him back, he coldly said, "Useless." The boy begged and pleaded, promising never to have improper thoughts about Yin again. Afterward, it was confirmed that the boy dropped out of school and never appeared before Yin again from that day on. And that day, Yin didn't leave him in the wilderness to fend for himself, but instead called the police, who took the boy away. Yin reported Yin's safety to the Yu family. Later, Yin learned that when the news of her disappearance reached the Yu family, Yin had already locked onto the male student, then rushed nonstop to the location of their study tour, narrowed down the search, and found a mountain range where she was trapped as soon as possible. Yin was trapped for a day and a night. When Yin took her down the mountain and into the car, she realized she was safe and cried out again, clinging to Yin and refusing to let go. Even after many years, Yin still remembered the feeling at that time. Yin was like her whole world, and only by hugging him tightly could she feel safe. At that time, she could only murmur, "Yin, I was wrong, don't leave me." She regretted it, had long regretted it. The moment she found herself tied up, she desperately called Yin's name in her heart. She hated her arrogance and ungratefulness. She knew she would only be safe with Yin, but she still disliked him always following her, like a shadow she couldn't shake off. Yin let her hug him for a long time, then whispered to comfort her, "Miss, it's okay now, I'm here." That night, she stayed in a hotel that had ties with the Yu family, so its safety and privacy were unquestionable. The hotel manager specially reserved a presidential suite for Yin and assigned a professional butler. After Yin brought Yin into the room, he told her to rest well. After saying that, he was about to leave. Yin was so scared that she grabbed his arm again, refusing to let him go. Yin told her, "Miss, I'll be guarding outside the door, I won't leave." Guarding outside the door was not enough. At that time, Yin was truly terrified, so she dared not let Yin out of her sight for even half a step. She clung to Yin desperately, refusing to let go, just wanting him to stay in the room with her. At that time, Yin's eyes seemed to conceal a dark river, unusually deep, and upon closer inspection, his handsome face had a slight flush. When he spoke, his voice was also a bit strange. He said, "Miss, I'm not leaving. I'm right here. You let go first." At that time, Yin was still holding on his arm tightly. That year, Yin was already shapely. But that year, Yin didn't understand the darkness in Yin's eyes. She clung to him, wishing she could burrow into his body for reassurance. Not only did she not let go of him, but she even needed to hug his arm while sleeping. That night, Yin didn't leave her sight. He sat leaning against the headboard, and Yin slept beside him, hugging him tightly. It was also that night that Yin's voice was hoarse, and he told her, "Miss, you can't just because you're underage." "Just what?" "Just do as you please." The Yu family's young lady at that time didn't understand Yan's words, but now Yin understood completely. The elevator arrived. Jiang Yin also followed her out of the elevator, escorting her all the way to her apartment door. This building was old, so the corridor wasn't long, with 2 units per floor. A neighbor came out to take out the trash and bumped into Yin. Seeing a tall man next to her, she looked a few more times and asked with a smile, "Boyfriend?" Yin felt a bit awkward for a moment, smiled, and didn't say yes or no. The neighbor quickly went downstairs. Yin thought, luckily the neighbor wasn't a gossipy person, otherwise this matter might very likely become fodder for the old ladies downstairs after dinner. There was a period when not only Yuan Zhou, but also Jiang Zhe came to her house. So in the eyes of the older generation in the community, her life was a bit perplexing, and of course, many unpleasant rumors spread. It originated when a gossipy person asked Jiang Zhe, and Jiang Zhe said that they were engaged. Afterward, Yuan Zhou was curiously questioned by the children in the community, and when asked if he was her boyfriend, he didn't deny it. Thus, public opinion overturned. For this, Yin also complained to Yuan Zhou, who was quite wronged, saying that it was just a few children asking him questions, and what could little kids understand? But little kids don't understand, the parents of little kids do. Now, Jiang Yin appeared in her community again and was caught by her neighbor. Yin secretly prayed that this would not become a regular occurrence. Jiang Yin, however, showed no intention of leaving. Yin thought he had something to say, so she stood at the door for a while. She waited for him to speak, but he remained silent, looking down at her with a contemplative gaze. "Is there anything else, young Master Yin?" she asked proactively. Jiang Yin slightly raised his chin. "Open the door." Yin uttered enough. Jiang Yin said indifferently, "I escorted you home, so out of courtesy, shouldn't you invite me in for a glass of water?" Yin looked at him in surprise. "Ask for water? There wasn't any water in the car, was there?" "Young Master Yin, it's so late. Do you want all the neighbors to see?" Jiang Yin interrupted her. "I don't mind." Yin opened the door. But as she opened the door, she suddenly realized that there was only one neighbor who could see him, and that neighbor had already seen him. What was she afraid of other neighbors seeing? Besides, where were the other neighbors? After Jiang Yin entered the house, Yin felt a momentary tension. With a pounding heart, she poured him water, and as she handed it to him, she said, "Young Master Yin, please drink the water and go back to rest early." Not being nervous was a lie, especially after the incident where Si Tingyuan tried to provoke him. Although he hadn't settled scores with her throughout the car ride. What if he did later? Jiang Yin didn't take the water glass, but asked her with a half smile, "What are you nervous about?" "I'm not," Yin denied. "No." Jiang Yin leaned slightly, looking at her. "Then why are you so eager to send me away? Or have you suddenly had a change of heart and realized that dating other men behind my back is wrong?" Yin said, "Mr. C and I are discussing a project. You know that our 2 companies have collaborated before." Jiang Yin took the initiative, sat down on the sofa without being asked, and chuckled. "Discussing a matchmaking project?" Yin choked. "I only know that Si Tingyuan is showing off to me." Jiang Yin said lazily. "His concern for you seems to have crossed the boundaries of a business partner." Yin sighed at his words, said nothing, and turned to leave. Jiang Yin didn't call her back. A moment later, he got up and walked to the bathroom door, where he could see Yin standing in front of the mirror washing her face. Yin was applying makeup remover to her face, gently rubbing it. Yin was smart and didn't close the door. Anyway, she was just washing her face for now. Jiang Yin leaned against the doorframe with his arms crossed. "I've always wondered something." Yin was applying makeup remover to her face, gently rubbing it. "What? You wash your face first, and then shower. Don't you find it troublesome? Why not just wash your face while showering? It's more convenient." Yin's rubbing motion paused, clearly not expecting him to ask such a question. "You've always had this habit." Jiang Yin chuckled softly. In the past, when he was by her side, he had observed her daily habits. For instance, he had never quite understood this particular habit of hers. Yin found this question, how to put it, it was very strange. It wasn't that the question itself was strange, but that it came from Jiang Yin's mouth was very strange. After thinking for a moment, she said, many girls do that. It's nothing strange. For example, many people brush their teeth before showering, so can't they brush their teeth while showering? Jiang Yin thought for a moment, raised an eyebrow, and agreed. Yin's chest tightened slightly. She raised her hand and stroked his head. Let's not think so far ahead. Let's focus on what's in front of us. As for the future, we'll talk about it later. She didn't know what more to say. Life was unpredictable, and sometimes, no matter how strong the emotions or how resolute the decisions, they couldn't withstand the passage of time. Yuanzhou looked at her. Will you leave me? Yin smiled softly. I'm your sister. From the first day you entered the Yu family, I've been your sister, and I will be for this lifetime. This familial bond will never be broken. A faint disappointment flickered in Yu Zhuanzhou's eyes, and a shadow drifted across them. He suppressed his almost uncontrolled emotions after a moment. He returned to the driver's seat, and when he spoke again, his voice was calm. In any case, I will never leave you. Yin felt a warmth in her heart, and, at the same time, she wanted to smile. All right, whatever makes you happy. When Mrs. Huang called again, Yuanzhou was already driving on the highway, heading towards the city. Mrs. Huang was quite enthusiastic, still concerned about Songlan. Su Huai, my nephew, he might be able to help you, Mrs. Huang said, quite excited. I briefly mentioned it to him on the way back to the city. But don't worry, I didn't reveal your mother's identity without your permission. I just told him I have a friend. After hearing it, he said he could come and see the patient first. Yin hadn't expected Mrs. Huang to be so attentive. After thinking for a moment, she asked softly, Isn't Su Huai a neurosurgeon? Madame Huang was warm-hearted, efficient in her actions, and forthright in her speech. After the call ended, Yuanzhou asked Su Huai. Yin hummed in affirmation, telling Yuanzhou that he was Madame Huang's nephew, currently working in the neurosurgery department of a top-tier hospital. That hospital was naturally one of the best, especially known for its neurosurgery, which clearly spoke volumes about Su Huai's capabilities. Yuanzhou said, So you've met? Yin knew what he was asking and softly said, Madame Huang intends to play matchmaker. Yu Zhuanzhou's face showed displeasure. Yin said, How can I even think about such things right now? Besides, given the Jiang family situation, it's not appropriate for me to get close to anyone. Do you think? Yu Zhuanzhou's voice was low and he asked, He's a good person? Yin gave a wry smile. Well, he's Madame Huang's nephew. Judging by Madame Huang, her nephew's character wouldn't be bad. But I don't really know what Su Huai's character is like, and I haven't thought about getting to know him deeply. Yuanzhou put his arm around her, gently stroking the spot where her wound was bandaged, and whispered, Yin, don't get involved with anyone. We'll be leaving sooner or later. Yin looked down at his hand, silent. Yuanzhou sensed a worried look between her brows and asked her, You don't want to leave? I do. Yin had always dreamed of leaving Beishur and returning to a familiar place. But I always have worries. Worries about what? Yin looked out the car window, her brows heavy, worried that the road home won't be as smooth as we imagine. I understand your concerns, Yuanzhou whispered gently. But don't be so anxious. Although I've been contacting the Yu family's old partners, I'm also developing new ones. The financing talks are almost complete, and everything is moving in a relatively ideal direction. Yin naturally trusted Yu Zhuanzhou's abilities, but this underlying worry wasn't baseless. Leaving the project aside for now, just thinking about Jiang Yin's attitude gave her a massive headache. Yuanzhou smiled and coaxed, Let's go have dinner first, then I'll take you to buy snacks. Yin also smiled. It was just like when she was a child. Whenever she was unhappy, she always wanted to stuff her mouth with a pile of snacks, all kinds of puff foods, trans fats, and so on. Yin didn't give up any opportunity to treat her mother. She accepted Madame Huang's kindness, and, after contacting Su Huai, proactively communicated Songlan's condition to him. Su Huai was quite pleased with Yin's candor, but Yin was clear-headed and spoke plainly with Su Huai. Su Huai certainly had a good impression of Yin, but to make her feel at ease accepting help, he also spoke with sincerity. Don't worry, I don't want to take advantage of you. I'm already very happy that you sought my help. Su Huai suggested a visit to the sanatorium to check on Songlan's condition. After learning that Songlan had experienced emotional fluctuations before, Su Huai said, We can observe her without disturbing Auntie. Additionally, the attending physician will definitely have examination and consultation records. Yin communicated with the sanatorium again. Songlan's attending physician was very welcoming to hear about outside help, especially when he learned it was Su Huai. It turned out they had known each other while studying abroad and had even worked in the same laboratory, a connection that was certainly undeniable. Yunyan knew that Su Huai's ability must be considerable to be poached by a top-tier hospital with a high salary, but she hadn't expected him to be so renowned. When Su Huai arrived, the attending physician personally came out to greet him. The two were well acquainted, making communication much easier and faster. Just as Madame Huang had said, even though Su Huai specialized in neurosurgery, he was an expert in the field of the brain. After communicating with the attending physician, he observed Song Lan for a long time, even changing into a white coat belonging to the hospital's doctors to try and communicate with Song Lan up close. That day, Yuanzhou accompanied Yunyan. They were still in the greenhouse, but Yunyan and Yuanzhou didn't get too close as per the doctor's instructions. Although Yuanzhou disliked Su Huai, he was very respectful when it came to professionalism. Song Lan sat in her chair as usual, carefully watering a small flower seedling, all the tenderness in her eyes focused on the plant. Su Huai, gentle and refined, sat beside Song Lan, chatting with her in a very soft tone. Although it was called a chat, it was mostly Su Huai speaking. Song Lan was very silent, seemingly entirely focused on the flower seedling. Su Huai was in no hurry, engaging in patient conversation and observation. Yuanzhou lowered his voice and said to Yunyan, "It probably won't be much use." In truth, they had consulted many experts before, with little effect. Yunyan also had a faint premonition that Su Huai might not find anything new regarding her mother's condition. Song Lan was immersed in her own world until Su Huai asked her, "Do you still remember the flowers and plants in the old family home? You took care of them yourself, didn't you?" Song Lan suddenly frowned. Yunyan and Yuanzhou both tensed up simultaneously. Fortunately, Song Lan didn't lose control like last time. She merely frowned, uncertain if it was due to Su Huai's recent words or because she had accidentally dislodged some soil while watering the seedling. So she got up, treating Su Huai as if he were air. Song Lan went and dug up some loose soil, a small handful, softened it, then returned to the flower pot and carefully mounded the soil around the plant, her movements very skillful. After that, she didn't react to anything Su Huai said. Later, the few of them left the greenhouse. The attending physician explained that Song Lan usually didn't talk much at the sanatorium, but it wasn't that she couldn't hear what others were saying. She simply rarely gave feedback. Su Huai planned to compile Song Lan's case and send it to international brain specialists. He said, "If one expert isn't enough, we'll find two. If two aren't enough, we'll find several more. It's better for everyone to research together than to just wait idly." But on the way back to the city, Su Huai asked Yunyan and Yuanzhou a very strange question. Was Annie happy when she was at the old family home? This question left Yunyan and Yuanzhou puzzled. Yuanzhou stated that Song Lan was quite happy at the old family home and was willing to stay there, never having heard her complain. Song Lan's emotions had always been stable. Yunyan asked Su Huai why he asked, and she had a faint feeling that Su Huai's question was very similar in nature to the questions the attending physician had asked them last time. Su Huai didn't hide anything from them, gently saying, "I feel that Auntie subconsciously rejects the old family home. In other words, deep down, she detests her identity as Mrs. Yu." Yunyan and Yuanzhou were both stunned. "How could that be? My parents had a very good relationship. Everyone could see it," Yuanzhou retorted. Su Huai thought for a moment, then nodded slightly. Yes, the Yu couple was indeed famously affectionate. Even a blind person could see it. It didn't seem like pretense at all. The look in their eyes and their actions when loving and caring for someone couldn't be hidden. After a long pause, he said, "This is just my feeling, because from the examination results, although Annie shows signs of brain function deterioration, her reaction shouldn't be like this." Yunyan asked him, "So you think it's more psychological?" Yunyan was silent for a long time, then said to Su Huai, "You're aware of what my mother went through before. Do you think a rejection of the old family home is related to that incident?" Su Huai had seen all of Song Lan's medical records, so he was very familiar with her situation. He pondered for a moment. "I don't think it's entirely because of that incident." Yuanzhou frowned slightly. "Dr. Su, do you mean it's possible my mother already disliked the old family home even before the incident at the Yu residence?" Su Huai hummed in affirmation. Then he added, "But this is just my speculation. After all, I'm not a psychological expert. Rest assured, I will write a comprehensive assessment based on Annie's condition, and then I will invite experts from multiple fields to participate in the discussion." Yunyan was very grateful to Su Huai. Yuanzhou was also quite generous, insisting on treating Su Huai to a meal. Although Su Huai outwardly told Yunyan not to feel burdened, he actually had a hidden motive. When facing a woman he admired, he definitely wanted an opportunity to advance their relationship. So, After arranging the visit to the sanatorium today, he wanted to invite Yunyin to dinner under the pretense of discussing the illness, not wanting Yuan Zhou to come along. As another man, Su Huai believed Yuan Zhou had seen through his intentions, so he smiled and declined when Yuan Zhou suggested dining together. He knew that Yuan Zhou would absolutely not give him a chance to pursue his sister, so it was better to retreat to advance, using the excuse of a night shift to postpone it to another time. Yuan Zhou was quite enthusiastic, insisting on seeing Su Huai to the hospital entrance, almost as if he wanted to escort him back to his department. How could Su Huai not know Yuan Zhou's thoughts? As Yuan Zhou got out to see him off, he said, "I do like your sister, and I intend to pursue her." Speaking candidly. To be honest, Yuan Zhou rather admired his candor and directness, so he also got straight to the point. "Dr. Su, I'm very grateful for your help. If you ever need my assistance in the future, don't hesitate to ask. I'll gladly oblige. But regarding your intention to pursue Yunyin, I advise you to give up on that idea." Su Huai smiled, looking at Yuan Zhou, and asked him, "Are these words on your sister's behalf or your own?" "Whose intention it is makes no difference," Yuan Zhou said with a faint smile. Su Huai feigned surprise. "You mean you can completely speak for your sister?" Yuan Zhou met his gaze. "In this regard, yes." Su Huai looked at him, and at that moment, he could also confirm Yuan Zhou's thoughts. After a pause, he smiled. "Perhaps your sister doesn't think so." Yuan Zhou's demeanor remained gentle, but his tone was firm. "You don't need to trouble yourself with this, Dr. Su." Si Tinji hadn't relented. He would still invite Yunyin to dinner every now and then, or have exquisite gifts delivered directly to her home. Yunyin politely declined them all. Si Tinji took the initiative to call, smiling as he said, "Miss you, are you really not going to give me a chance?" Yunyin felt like she had recently trampled a whole tree of peach blossoms in a mud. One after another, they were coming on strong. She spoke directly to Si Tinji. "I appreciate young Master C's intentions, but whether on a personal or company level, I cannot accept your approach. Please forgive me." On a personal level, she wouldn't accept his pursuit. On a company level, she wouldn't accept replacing Jiang Cheng. Si Tinji seemed to have long anticipated her blunt refusal and showed no surprise, maintaining a smile. "Miss you, can the Yu family afford to drag this out now?" "We can't afford to, so we don't intend to," Yunyin said softly. "If we can't take big orders, we could take small ones. The Yu family started small with the jewelry sector originally. At worst, we'll just start over from scratch." Si Tinji chuckled on the phone, seemingly thoughtful, and finally said, "All right. But there's one thing I need to emphasize. My pursuit of Miss Yu is entirely out of affection, with no intention of a linked interest." Yunyin merely smiled, offering no rebuttal. After Si Tinji, Si Tingyuan proactively sought her out. Just as she and Yuan Zhou had previously judged, Si Tingyuan was indeed deeply cunning, always watching the tiger fight from the mountain, with Si Tinji's every move under his complete control. The meeting with Si Tingyuan was arranged at a club, a place reserved by Si Tingyuan. Yunyin had originally wanted Yuan Zhou to handle Si Tingyuan, but Si Tingyuan had anticipated her thoughts and cut off her idea with a single sentence. "I'll only speak with Miss Yu. I won't see anyone else." Yunyin had to remind him the company's decision-making power rests with Yuan Zhou, not with me. Si Tingyuan smiled and said, "But Yuan Zhou's decisions are influenced by you, not by him." That single sentence left Yunyin speechless. Upon meeting Si Tingyuan, Yunyin corrected his statement. At the company, Yuan Zhou is still the primary business decision-maker. The club was located in the prime real estate of the CBD, suspended above the city's glamour. Outside, evening rush hour had just begun, bustling with activity, but inside the club, it was cut off from the earthly hustle and bustle, with only quiet and elegance. People who came here were all for business discussions. They didn't come here for revelry. Yunyin and Si Tingyuan were in a relatively secluded spot, convenient for conversation. Si Tingyuan had chosen a dining area. He had sent a driver to pick up Yunyin, and by the time she arrived, the menu had already been sent to the kitchen. Yunyin looked at the menu and was surprised to find that they were all her favorite dishes. "It's not difficult to learn the culinary preferences of a Yu family's esteemed daughter," Si Tingyuan said in a light, low tone. He gave a completely different impression from Si Tinji. Si Tinji exuded a strong, offensive aura, the kind of person who would proactively strike. Si Tingyuan, on the other hand, as the eldest son of the Si family, was profound and reserved, aloof and dignified. His every move showed self-restraint and propriety, but behind his calm demeanor was a powerful, controlling force, a different kind of assertiveness. "Miss Yu, haven't you considered that if Jiang Cheng isn't replaced, our two families' cooperation might terminate? After all, Jiang Cheng is an unstable factor, and the Si family doesn't want to accept that risk," Si Tingyuan said, raising a teapot to pour Yunyin a cup of fruit and flower tea. There was a faint citrus aroma, which, combined with the crystal persimmon cakes the waiter had brought earlier, evoked the taste of deep autumn. Yun held the cup, watching the golden citrus veins float in it, and said, "My thoughts are the exact opposite of yours, Mr. C." Hearing this, Si Tingyuan looked up at her. Yun said unhurriedly, "If Jiang Cheng were replaced, I believe our two families would completely lose any possibility of cooperation, wouldn't we?" Si Tingyuan smiled. "Do tell. Jiang Cheng is the designer the Si family has always wanted to poach with a high salary. Although you, Mr. C, express an intention to cooperate recently, getting it past the board still requires some careful consideration. Your younger brother, out of concern for you, proactively helped you mitigate risks. His starting point might have been good, but the risk was transferred to our Yu family." Yun held a slender silver spoon, gently stirring the orange pulp in her cup. "And, Mr. C, don't blame me for being narrow-minded, but what I'm thinking is that the moment Jiang Cheng leaves the Yu family, he'll immediately become a possession of the Si family. By then, the designer young Master Si recommended to our Yu family might not necessarily meet your approval." She described an internal struggle between brothers as a harmonious fraternal relationship. Those who understood, understood. Si Tingyuan smiled. Yun was giving the Si family ample face. "I recall Miss Yu once spoke of Jiang Cheng's loyalty, so why fear this point?" Si Tingyuan said. Yun smiled faintly. "Jiang Cheng is not a man who can be swayed by personal gain, but if it's for friends or family, it's not impossible to make him yield." She paused here, then looked up slightly at Si Tingyuan. "Mr. Si, you may not know, but someone has pulled this kind of trick on Jiang Cheng before." Si Tingyuan raised an eyebrow slightly. "Is that so? Not everyone, like Mr. Si, places their means of achieving profit openly on the table," she sighed softly. "Just 2 days ago, someone was loitering near Jiang Cheng's daughter's kindergarten and even tried to pick up the child early. The forged identity was incredibly convincing. Fortunately, our people were prepared in advance, which prevented anything from happening to the child." At this point, Yun asked Si Tingyuan, "Mr. Si, don't you think this kind of situation is terrifying?" Si Tingyuan nodded slightly upon hearing this. "It is quite terrifying. If something happens to a child, the parents fall apart." "Indeed," Yun sighed. "I believe that once business competition involves family members, the tactics become despicable. But human hearts are unfathomable. Some people truly will do anything for profit." Si Tingyuan said nothing, merely giving a faint smile. However, this incident also became a double-edged sword. The other party inadvertently helped Jiang Cheng solidify his resolve. "Before, he only remembered my father's kindness. Now he also remembers the good deeds of Zhou and me," Yun said, gazing at Si Tingyuan. "What do you think, Mr. Si?" "As the saying goes, a blessing in disguise," Si Tingyuan said, a slight smile in his eyes as he met Yun's gaze. "The Yu family gaining from this might lead people to suspect it was your deliberate doing." Yun responded unhurriedly. "By that logic, I might even suspect the Si family." "The Si family?" Yun narrowed her eyes slightly, a smile playing on her lips. Could it be that young Master Si was too worried about his brother and wanted to resolve this matter? But unfortunately, he was too impatient. "Miss Yu is joking." Si Tingyuan deflected gracefully. Yun's lips curved. "That's right, there's a good deal of joking in it. I simply watch business rivalries for the entertainment value and just say whatever comes to mind. Please don't mind, Mr. Si." "Not at all. Miss Yu's disposition is very charming," Si Tingyuan said. Such words, coming from Si Tingyuan and Si Tinji, had completely different tones. When Si Tinji said them, there was always a hint of frivolous charm, while Si Tingyuan's words were meaningful and thought-provoking. Yun remained unfazed. It is Mr. C's generosity. It was true that Jiang Cheng's family had been harassed a few days prior. Fortunately, she and Zhou had anticipated this and prepared early, thus averting a tragedy. Jiang Cheng was crucial to the survival of the entire team and represented the core of their interests, making him the key of all keys. Later, their discreet investigation revealed that it was Si Tinji's people who had done it. Si Tinji was ruthless in his methods, acting silently and stealthily. While outwardly he appeared unrestrained, charming, and smiling, he was cunning and vicious in secret, so such an action was entirely normal for him. Could Si Tingyuan not be aware of this matter? No, he knew. Although he disdained participating in such underhanded tactics, he also didn't stop them. Just as Yun and Zhou had analyzed earlier, the conflict between the two brothers was certainly an open secret, with everything at stake. However, externally, he needed to uphold the Si family's reputation, so Si Tingyuan would never admit that it was his own brother's doing. Yun took a sip of the fruit tea, After a slight sourness came sweetness. Si Tingyuan asked her about its taste, if she liked it. Yunyin put down her cup and said, "It's a bit too sweet. Don't you girls all like sweet things?" Si Tingyuan chuckled. Yunyin said, "I've only come to understand one truth now. Sweetness needs bitterness to truly stand out. If it's always sweet, you won't even notice the sweetness. So sometimes when I taste something sweet, I always think, it'll be bitter soon, won't it? You can't be too greedy for sweetness to truly appreciate it. I hear Tinji is pursuing Miss Yu." Si Tingyuan suddenly brought the conversation to this topic, looking at her with deep eyes. "Doesn't Miss Yu think this is an opportunity? Perhaps you could continuously experience sweetness then." Yunyin smiled. "I don't think that's a good way to achieve sweetness. And as for me, I'm actually not very romantic." Si Tingyuan seemed to have heard a joke, his brows softening. If Miss Yu isn't romantic, then there must be no romantic women in the entire socialite circle. Yunyin looked at him, and after a long moment, suddenly asked, "So, Mr. C, what is your intention?" "Miss Yu, you made a mistake in one thing you said. I am not generous." Si Tingyuan leaned back, his posture relaxed, and slowly added the second half of the sentence. "When it comes to Si Tinji pursuing you." Yunyin watched him. His eyes held a subtle glint. There was no burning intensity in the depths of his pupils, as if he were discussing a matter unrelated to romance. Yet his expression was serious. She smiled. And then, "Miss Yu, you might as well try with me," Si Tingyuan said lightly. Yunyin showed no surprise, just a smile. "Am I being particularly favored by the matchmaker god lately? It seems quite a few men are pursuing you. It's not as exaggerated as Mr. C makes it sound. If it's not about love, then it's irrelevant whether it's a pursuit or not," Yunyin said pointedly, "including you, Mr. C." Si Tingyuan looked at her with a half-smile. "Do you think there won't be love between us? Otherwise," Yunyin calmly asked, "Mr. C, you're not going to use young Master C's reason, love at first sight, are you?" Si Tingyuan looked at her. Love at first sight, in other words, is to be captivated by beauty. But I think all men have that instinct to be captivated by beauty, don't they? So all I can offer you, Mr. C, is pleasure for the eyes? And you would decide to invest emotionally merely for that pleasure? That wouldn't be a worthwhile deal for you, Mr. C, Yunyin said. Si Tingyuan's smile in his eyes was faint. "Miss Yu, you're a bit cruelly calm. Can I not have romantic feelings for you? I'm only a few years older than you and unmarried. Compared to Si Tinji, I believe I have more sincerity." "What is the sincerity Mr. C speaks of?" "There's always a sense of déjà vu, like all those domineering CEOs were falling in love with me." Yunyin chuckled softly. "First there was Zhang Zhe, then Su Huai, and now the two C brothers. Not to mention their illustrious family backgrounds. Just their looks alone were 1 in 10,000, the kind many women dreamed of. If Yunyin were romance-obsessed, she would undoubtedly be swept away by the men's sugar-coated bullets. But the trouble was, she wasn't romance-obsessed. For every man who approached her, or more accurately, every man who explicitly expressed interest in pursuing her, her first thought was, what is the exchange of interest between us? For a suitor, what is my greatest value to him? She believed in love. Pure, without the slightest impurity, earnest and passionate, a lifelong partnership between two souls. The kind where it's love at first sight, then deep affection, where two people are together simply because of love, not for any other reason. But she had never witnessed such love. She came from a wealthy background, and among everyone she knew, romantic relationships seemed to be intertwined with interests. Even though she admired her parents' relationship so much, she had to admit that their union couldn't escape family interests either. Her parents were already considered role models in the affluent circle. Yet, their love wasn't the kind she yearned for. Si Tingyuan's promises sounded very tempting. Her eyes held a faint smile as she suddenly asked Si Tingyuan, "Mr. C, do you love me?" Si Tingyuan paused slightly at her words. Seeing that she seemed amused by his reaction again, Si Tingyuan couldn't help but smile. "Miss Yu wants love? I don't think that's difficult. If Miss Yu doesn't dislike me, I believe affection will grow over time. You see, Mr. C, in this regard, you're not as articulate as your brother," Yunyin said with a faint smile, pressing her lips together. "At least young Master C can say something like love at first sight to me. Do you believe him? At least it sounds nice, and it's a basic principle for pursuing a girl." Si Tingyuan suddenly understood, then smiled, feigning helplessness. After a long pause, he said, "I'm not afraid of Miss Yu laughing at me, but I've never put much thought into women, so I lack experience in expressing myself in this area." Yunyin hummed and nodded. Mr. C's words sound rather more sophisticated. After all, handsome, rich men without a history of frivolous relationships were practically an endangered species. "You don't believe me?" Si Tingyuan asked with a smile. "No first love, no ex-girlfriends, no engagement. My romantic life is practically a blank slate. Si Tingyuan's reputation in the Shanghai circle was well known. He was free of scandals, something Yunyan had heard. She smiled faintly. I believe you. Since you believe me, is there a chance you might consider me? Si Tingyuan extended an invitation. How about I try to guess what's on your mind, Mr. Si? Yunyan said suddenly. Of course, if I say anything wrong, please forgive my impudence. Go on. Mr. Si, you are currently facing the dilemma of an arranged marriage. I imagine the elders of the Si family are eager to send photos of eligible young women to your desk, aren't they? Yunyan said softly. Although phrased as a question, her tone was clearly assertive. Si Tingyuan was startled, then a flicker of interest appeared deep in his eyes. Continue. The internal structure of the Si family is complex, and thus the interests involved are multifaceted. There must be many who wish to form a marriage alliance with the Si family, but Mr. Si's consideration is that once the other party represents certain interests, although there are advantages to such a union, a strong alliance, no doubt, there will also be drawbacks. The Si families, or rather, Mr. Si's own interests, might inevitably be constrained. Therefore, Mr. Si definitely doesn't want to choose a spouse from that group of young ladies. I'm not within the scope of the Si family elders' choices, so I don't represent anyone's interests. The Yu family was once a prominent household, and the title of the wealthiest family in Jiangnan guarantees my background. I am the most suitable candidate for you to use to escape the Si family elders' continued pressure for arranged blind dates. Yunyan articulated her views unhurriedly. Throughout the entire process, Si Tingyuan was very well-mannered, showing no signs of interruption, listening quietly all the while. If all goes as planned, Mr. Si not only wants to try things out with me, but it's also highly likely he'd marry me. To call me merely a pretty face isn't entirely accurate. At the very least, I can capture Mr. Si's attention more than the average socialite, so our future life wouldn't be too dull. As for the wings Mr. Si mentioned for the Yu family to make a comeback, I also believe that's what Mr. Si has in mind. After all, you can't let your in-laws be too humiliated, can you? But the Yu family developing through self-reliance versus developing through Mr. Si's charity are different in nature. The former would allow the Yu family to regain the integrity of cultured businessmen, while the latter would only leave the Yu family barely surviving. After all, while Mr. Si gives the Yu family an opportunity, he would also need to control its growth. You wouldn't want to be backfired by your wife's family power, would you? At this point, she looked up at Si Tingyuan, asking with a half-smile, I wonder if my understanding is correct? Si Tingyuan narrowed his eyes slightly, scrutinizing her. After a moment, he suddenly smiled. Do you really not think I would be interested in you? Whether you're interested in me isn't about what I think. The point is, Mr. Si, you're not the type of man I like, Yunyan stated directly. A faint shadow darkened Si Tingyuan's eyes. If I were to form a marriage alliance with the Si family, I would undoubtedly choose you, Mr. Si. Your looks are a bonus, and you're a man who easily fits women's aesthetic preferences. But more importantly, you are the eldest son of the Si family, the current head of the Si family, absolutely the best candidate for a marriage alliance. Yunyan noticed the darkness in his eyes, yet showed no fear. So, Mr. Si, you see, when I'm with you, my first thought is only about you and your family's conditions. This means my need for your interests outweighs my emotional needs. Therefore, Mr. Si, you are not my destined partner. What's wrong with having an interest-driven need? Si Tingyuan disagreed with her statement. If relationships between people are to last, there must inevitably be an equal exchange of value and interests. Can they truly be maintained by emotion alone? Yunyan smiled. Everyone's needs are different. What Mr. Si wants is a marriage he can control, and what I want is love. Just love, etched deeply in the heart, and unforgettable until death. She knew it was a luxury. Who in today's society still believed in such love? Yet, she stubbornly yearned for that kind of pure love. Si Tingyuan watched her for a long time, then suddenly smiled. Miss you, there's no need to rush to refuse. My offer to you remains valid long-term. Mr. Si, Yunyan's words caught in her throat mid-sentence. From her vantage point, she could clearly see 7 or 8 people surrounding a man as if he were the moon among stars. The man wore a dark suit, his figure tall and imposing, with an elegant and noble aura. His eyes were light and unsmiling, yet exuded immense authority. Yunyan's gaze dropped, and her heart trembled. Just as the man's gaze was about to sweep over, she quickly withdrew her eyes, her heart pounding like thunder, thinking he probably hadn't noticed this side, as her spot was quite secluded. Si Tingyuan sensed her unusual expression. Through the reflection in the nearby glass, he caught sight of the man and smiled. What a coincidence. A coincidence? Yunyan didn't think so. It wasn't entirely unexpected to encounter him in such a highly private and luxurious club. But it wasn't the only club in the entire North City. Why did she have to unluckily run into him here? Her ears picked up footsteps heading their way. The club was too quiet. Even the music was faint, not enough to mask the man's approaching footsteps. Yin picked up her water glass and sipped fruit tea, trying to hide the panic in her heart. She still harbored a sliver of hope. Perhaps he wasn't coming for her. Perhaps he was just passing by, perhaps. Miss you, you seem quite nervous? Si Tingyuan asked her meaningfully. Yin tried her best to suppress her nervous surprise, smiling. No, why would I be nervous? In reality, her heart was still pounding wildly, thudding against her chest, the sound audible even to her ears, one beat after another. Si Tingyuan smiled faintly. That's right. Miss Yu has already decided to break off her engagement with the Jiang family, so there's no need to be nervous around them. As these words fell into Yunyan's ears, her mind reeled. Immediately after, a familiar voice drifted down. Mr. C, enjoying yourself, I see. Yunyan's scalp tingled, and she didn't look up. Her face was lowered as if drinking tea, her gaze falling on a man's perfectly tailored trousers, and just a little further up his narrow waist. Yunyan knew she couldn't hide, but to outsiders, she and Jiang Yinyan had no particular connection, and most there was her relationship with Jiang Zhe. So, if she were to greet Jiang Yinyan familiarly, it wouldn't look right. As for what Si Tingyuan might think, Yunyan couldn't worry about that anymore. Si Tingyuan stood up, extending his hand proactively. To meet young Master Yin here, it's fate. Yunyan thought, more like ill-fated karma. Jiang Yinyan reached out and shook his hand. I'm here to catch up with a few old friends. She then heard others greeting Si Tingyuan, the same group that had been surrounding Jiang Yinyan. Yunyan wished she could crawl into a hole. After exchanging greetings, Jiang Yinyan showed no sign of leaving. His voice drifted down. Mr. C, are you on a date? Yunyan's scalp tightened. Si Tingyuan smiled. I have that intention, but I also need to have that honor. Someone suddenly spoke hesitantly. Isn't this Miss Yu the Yu family? It is Miss Yu, right? Having been called out, Yunyan couldn't pretend to be invisible any longer. She secretly took a deep breath, put down her water glass, and when she looked up, she was completely calm. She stood up, a smile on her face. The person chuckled. See, I thought she looked familiar. It really is Miss Yu. Someone beside him chimed in. Mr. C, I think you should reconsider. Miss Yu is engaged to the Jiang family. She's the daughter-in-law the Jiang family is bringing in. Mr. C won't have a chance to win her heart. Not everyone was privy to the current intricacies between the Yu and Jiang families. Si Tingyuan smiled faintly. After all, she's not married yet. Anything is possible, isn't it? Yunyan instinctively looked at Si Tingyuan, a jolt going through her. What was he trying to do? Even without looking at Jiang Yinyan, she could feel the chilling condensation in the air around them. Suddenly recalling the last time Jiang Yinyan, in a fit of rage, had thrown her into the sealed kiln, her heart began to thump wildly. Her back grew tighter and tighter. Just remembered, young Master Yin, Miss Yu is supposed to marry your nephew, young Master Jiangze, right?